I sighed as I sunk my body lower into my steamy bubble bath. Today has been a day, and this lavender and eucalyptus bath was much needed. I lay my head back and closed my eyes as I relaxed. Suddenly my eyes popped open at the sound of knocking. I sat there listening, reluctant to leave my oasis. When I didn't hear anything, I closed my eyes again. Not even 2 minutes later, I heard the knock again. This time I was fully alert. This time I realized it wasn't at the door. It was coming from beneath the tub. Right when I was going to stand up, the tub gave way, and I was plunged into darkness. And after the splash of the water hitting the ground, silence. After a few moments, I heard what sounded like claws dragging across the concrete, and a menacing laugh. Though I could still see nothing, I had no choice but to stand still and await the thing that was slowly clawing and cackling its way to me. The hairs on my neck stood up as I felt its hot breath. I slowly turned around, only to come face to face with what had to have been a 10 feet tall, thin creature with arms that ended in long, sharp claws. Its mouth turned up in an unnaturally wide mouth and sharp teeth, but what stood out the most were its red glowing eyes. This has to be a dream, I thought to myself right as it opened its mouth to say, "This isn't a dream. Didn't they warn you about falling asleep in the tub?" It questioned. I was frozen in shock, unable to speak. "You're mine now," I said as I felt its claws sink into my skin. I closed my eyes, choking on what had to be blood. When I opened them, though, I was on my bathroom floor surrounded by paramedics. As my vision cleared, I noticed the worried face of my best friend. With a sigh of relief, she said, "I came home to see you submerged in the water and called the paramedics and pulled you out. A few more seconds and you would have been a goner," said one paramedic. "Don't you know it's dangerous to fall asleep in the tub?" he scolded. Relief washed over me as I realized it was just a nightmare. "How'd you get that scratch?" my friend exclaimed. I looked down and stared in horror as I noticed long, deep claw marks going down my arm. I woke in the hospital after apparently passing out. I glanced at my arm to see it bandaged up. Did I imagine everything? I asked myself out loud. I looked around the room and swore I saw a shadow in the corner, but I just told myself it was the medicine. I decided to try to go back to sleep and had just dozed off when I was yanked out of my bed. I opened my mouth to scream, but it was caught in my throat as I realized it was the same creature dragging me across the floor, nails digging into my ankle. "I told you were mine, you can't escape me," it said. I could feel the blood gushing out of my ankle as it began to drag me down the hall, and I noticed the nurse's station was empty. Finally my voice returned, and I screamed at the top of my lungs. I must have startled the creature as it stopped, turned around, and stared at me with a growl that lifted its claws hand. As I continued to lay there screaming and knew my end was near, I closed my eyes and awaited my death. Ma'am, I heard it say." Slowly I opened my eyes and realized I was surrounded by nurses. It was just another dream, I thought to myself as my ankle throbbed. That's when it clicked. I yanked the covers off of me and heard the audible gasps as I looked at the deep wounds from when the creature was dragging me. The nurses looked at me in horror, and my gaze was the same. I glanced in the corner again and could have sworn I saw a pair of red eyes, but when I blinked it was gone. I breathed a sigh of relief, but I should have held that in, because next thing I knew a voice growled in a whisper in my ear saying, "I'll be watching you." Then everything went black.